Now it's time for Movie Friends with your hosts Michelle and Seth. We're talking film without pretension. We're finding cats that are unexpected. We'll watch a movie, film, or schmovie, and we want you to join our journey. So subscribe and share this podcast, or this might just be the last of the Movie Friends. We're movie friends. We want to be your movie friends.
Hey, welcome to Movie Friends. I'm here with my friend Seth Vargas, who will snoop around and check your medicine cabinet.
And I'm here with my friend Michelle Rubenstein, who always makes sure to fasten her seatbelt.
I do that. Yes.
I do too. Your butt hits the seat, put your seatbelt on.
Yeah. I hope everyone does. Whenever my mom is in the car and she's in the back seat, sometimes she won't buckle up and I have to yell at her like she's a child.
Well,
like,
she comes from a day when
buckle up.
They didn't do that.
I know, but still, it's the rules.
It's good to follow the rules, everybody.
Yes. Yes, it is. How are you? I feel like it's been quiet this week.
I don't know if we've talked about Father of the Bride.
I don't think we've talked about anything.
Smidgen.
Like, at all.
Well, I did tell you that I was going to watch the second one, and I told you when I was watching it.
Okay, sure. If we can count that as communication, yes.
Yeah. I had a wild week at work.
Yeah.
3 things broke on the same day.
Oh, man.
Major things.
Yeah,
so that was juggling a lot of stuff all at the same time.
Yeah. I saw the new Andy Kaufman documentary.
That's right. You went in for the Tribeca Film Festival.
Yes, Andy Kaufman is me. It was very good.
Now, how does it compare to what you know about Andy Kaufman? Was this bringing in new information?
Yeah. Stuff I had no idea. And like at this point, I feel like I've been researching him for over a year now, like deeply. And so I thought going in like, oh, I'll just enjoy this. Andy Kaufman is like one of my happies in life. But I learned new stuff that I had no idea about. And so I recommend watching both documentaries that came out this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they complement each other very nicely.
Did you feel the hustle and bustle of the Tribeca Film Festival at your screening?
No, not really.
No, it just felt like going to see a movie.
Yeah, it was pretty quiet. I mean, we had to wait on a line, but it was pretty quiet.
Speaking of film festivals, hey, Stony Brook Film Festival, 30th anniversary this year. Use the code MovieFriends at checkout to get 25% off of your dang tickets.
It's a good deal. Let me tell you.
It is. I'm going to do it.
Well, you should. Everyone should. The festival's from July 17th through the 26th. Good stuff. The schedule has been released.
Mm-hmm.
We'll link it in the show notes, right, Seth? Seth will do this, future Seth?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Come join us. We're going to be there. We're going to be covering the films and hopefully talking to some filmmakers. And it's just a really fun time.
And hey, we saw some stuff there last year that is still like really hard to find. So
yeah,
it's a great assortment of films from all around the world. Short films are paired with each feature. If you're anywhere in the New York area, take a couple days, book yourself a little room or a big room.
A little room. No big rooms for you.
Hey, did we get any new patrons this week?
We did get a new patron. Welcome to the network, the family, Roshan. Hello. We're so happy to have you.
Hello. Thank you so much. Not new to the show.
Not new to the show.
Longtime friend and listener.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, like I said, I had a horrible week at work. I got that little notification and I was like, wow, this is great.
Roshan leaves us his happies and crappies on our Instagram posts every single week of the movie, and I look forward to them. And so I pinged him recently. I was like, I'm really looking forward. Now I'm waiting. Like if he doesn't provide, I have to nudge him.
The pressure that we put on people to participate is like.
But I'm genuinely curious. And I want to hear what you guys think of, the movies we talk about, or else it's just Seth and I,
I was also excited because when Rashawn joined up, he joined our patron Discord.
Yeah, now he's in the group chat.
not everyone who signs up joins the group chat. And I'm always
Yeah.
like, come on in. Come on. Come
Yeah.
talk to us. But you know what? They want to participate from afar. That's okay too. And hey, if you want to be like Rashawn, sign up, man. Come on. Look, I say it all the time. You've been listening to this show for years for free, and that should be illegal, and you should be ashamed. Don't you think so?
I don't know if we really need to shame our listeners, but continue on, my friend. Continue on.
Shame is a powerful tool, okay?
It's true. Guilt is too.
But anyway, I'm just kidding. But you can sign up, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast.
Well, I also want to shout out our listeners who are leaving us comments on Spotify and YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
It's real fun. It's real fun to see those. Keep it up. We love engaging with you over there. And if you're listening to this episode on YouTube right now, I want you to leave a comment and be like, this is for you, Michelle.
Do you remember that photo challenge a few years back that was like recreate this photo with whatever objects are near you?
Yes. Yes.
I would like to say, leave a comment with whatever you're doing right now.
I love that.
Unless you're pooping.
Oh, no, you could do just put a poop emoji.
Oh, yeah. That's okay.
Everybody poops. It's fine. We're not going to judge you for how and when you listen to us.
We'll take it all, okay? We were talking with someone recently who said that they listen to us as they go to sleep.
They did say that.
Which I thought was very funny. So, hey, maybe we put you to sleep. Anyway, thank you guys. Seriously, thank you all very much for everything.
Thank
That you listen, you email, you support the show, you comment. It's great. And the show is growing in ways that I could have anticipated, quite frankly. But, you know.
Do you like candy?
Do you like candy?
Do you like candy?
If you answered yes to any of the above questions, then Candy is Dandy is the right podcast for you.
Candy is Dandy is the world's only candy review podcast.
And we know that because we looked as deep as the third O in a Google search.
Every first and third Wednesday of the month, we pick a different candy, give you its history, taste it live, and review it and rate it.
We've tried candies such as Snickers,
Butterfingers,
Jelly Belly Jelly Beans,
and we've had a cavalcade of celebrity guests such as the Three Musketeers,
Bazooka Joe,
and Comedy Bang Bang's Carl Tart.
So download and subscribe to Candy is Dandy anywhere podcasts are found.
It's an exciting week because it's my pick for Wedding Month. We're talking about Father of the Bride from 1991. Before we get into our discussion, though, Seth and I are going to guess and write down what we think the other will rate this movie. And this year, we're competing for pickles.
That's right. So if we guess correctly, we get to add a pickle to our pickle tally.
That's right. And if I'm correct, and Seth, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe so far the tally is I have won 10 pickles and you have won 11.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
We're doing good.
We're doing good.
Halfway through the year. We could be staring at 30 pickles by the end of this. Just staring 30 pickles down the barrel.
If we could be so lucky.
A pickle barrel.
A pickle barrel. Yeah. I'm locked in. I have no confidence behind it. I actually have no idea how you feel about this movie.
I'm also locked in, and I do feel a little confident.
Because it's my pick?
No. You'll see.
Okay. All right, so we're talking about Father of the Bride from 1991, directed by Charles Shire. Screenplay by Charles Shire, Nancy Meyers, Francis Goodrich, and Albert Hackett. Cinematography by John Lindley. Composed by Alan Silvestri. Edited by Richard Marks. And costume design by Susan Becker. Starring Steve Martin, Diane Keaton, Kimberly Williams Paisley, Kieran Culkin, George Newbern, and Martin Short. Seth, would you like to read us our summary?
Absolutely. George Banks is a loving, slightly neurotic dad living a quiet, comfortable life. His life gets turned upside down when his daughter Annie returns from abroad with news. She's getting married. What follows is a whirlwind of wedding chaos, in-law introductions, and midlife spirals as George struggles to let go of his little girl and embrace his new role as father of the bride. That was good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That just rolled off the tongue. That was so well written.
Wow. Wow, Seth. So, I want to know
Yes.
your personal connection to this movie. I'll get into mine, and why this is a special one, but I want to hear from you first.
This is a movie that we watched as kids, but I didn't really love that much. Fun fact about me, I have 7 siblings. My parents had 6 boys in a row, with me being the last boy, and then they had 2 girls. So I like to call myself the last in a long line of disappointments. My parents named my sister after me, Victoria, for victory, because they finally got a girl after 7 tries.
No. Is that true?
Yeah. Yes, that's very true.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
I think they liked this movie more,
Yeah.
and they would watch it more frequently than I did. What I mostly remembered about this movie is the hot dog scene
Mm-hmm.
and feeling like the ending was so frustratingly insane. And I still feel the same way.
Okay. Well, we'll save the ending for the ending
Sure.
of our discussion.
And then I caught scenes from the second one, but never knuckled down and watched it. And so in preparation for this, I watched both. And I don't think, we probably won't talk about the second one that much, but I was like, I just want to know the full story.
Sure. Did you end up watching part 3-ish?
I did not have time to watch part 3-ish. Did you?
Yes, I watched it when it came out in 2020.
Oh, okay.
Which I have very mixed feelings on part
Sure.
3-ish.
This was a COVID production?
It was a COVID production. They wanted to write part 3, actually, Shire and Meyers, and they started writing it in 96, and it just never came to fruition. So then Meyers thought, like, oh, where would they be during COVID? Like, how would this family be dealing with it? And so,
well,
right. And they
George
did it.
would be a nightmare.
Yeah. And they did it over Zoom, and it is a short film. And from a production standpoint, like, all of the actors had to film themselves, and so they were sent kits. And so that's impressive to me, and also just to pull this off in 2020. And they did it to raise money for World Central Kitchen, so there was a good cause behind it. However, rewatching it yesterday, I was like, oh gosh, I do not want to relive 2020, right? So
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But for me, I love this movie. I grew up watching it. And really, my memories are tied to watching it with my sister. Not really my mom and dad, which I'm finding as we do this show and I think about movies from childhood, I have a lot of memories tied to Sam and not my parents. I mean, they obviously are the ones who put movies on, so I don't know. But Sam, she sent a voicemail in, so I want to play it for you.
Whoa.
Yeah, of what this movie.
Samuel?
Samuel.
Wow, thank you.
Okay, here we go.
Nancy Meyers has a way of creating a certain vibe with most of her films, right? Like, obviously Father of the Bride, it's complicated, The Holiday, Parent Trap, like there's just a vibe, an aesthetic, characters, it just creates such a homey feeling. And I think that's what I really love about the movie, how connected and passionate, like, all the characters are to their morals and their visions for things, right? Like Steve Martin he's such a family man in the movie. George Banks, Kimberly Williams is obviously the same in way of she wants to start a family, she wants to get married, like there's just such a beautiful, genuine connection amongst the characters. And even with like Frank and George, obviously they didn't really start out chummy, but you can tell there's just such love there. I don't think Aunt had seen it, but I was like, you can't be in this family if you haven't seen this movie type of thing. Like, it's just like a part of the fabric. It's so good.
Thanks, Samuel.
Wow, thank you, Sam.
It's true that she will talk about this movie to anybody who will listen. And when she found out that Aunt never saw it, and it was either this one or part 2, she had a conniption, and she's like, "How dare you? Like, I can't believe, Michelle, like you chose this man as your husband." We're being dramatic, but Yeah, it's a very important film to us. So much so when Sam got married, I made her own wedding sneakers and surprised it during my wedding speech to her. And so she had her own
Sidekicks.
sidekicks. Yeah. Yeah. And I also, on Sam's note, if we could just talk about it for a little bit and then we'll get into the actual movie, but this was the introduction to the Nancy Meyers universe.
Yes.
The
yes.
aesthetic of it all.
Now, I'm not a Nancy Meyers expert. There's
Okay.
large parts of her filmography that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
In fact, I can list them all very quickly. I've seen The Parent Trap, The Holiday, and Father of the Bride.
Oh, wow. So you are missing some gems in there.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, The Parent Trap is the first movie she directs. And then she's the writer, producer, director on Something's Gotta Give, which is like the triple threat of it all.
Mm-hmm.
But do you get, from what you've seen, like, do you get the aesthetic? Do you get the feel of it, the coziness, the soft palettes, the comfort of it all?
Yeah. And I heard a few other people talking about like the intangible thing that you can't put your finger on with a Nancy Meyers like environment, right?
Yes.
And I was like, I can put my finger on it. It's rich white people. What are you talking about?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
this is the ideal for the three films that I've seen. Parent Trap, The Holiday, Father of the Bride. It's like this is what everybody wants their life to be, like not too extravagant, but doing real well, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not like putting it down. And there's a through line of style for sure.
Is it a style that you can get down with, or you just view it with a critical eye?
I was pretty mad as I was watching part 2.
Mm-hmm.
I was very mad that their pot rack in their kitchen was so low. It made working on the like kitchen island very difficult. It's very impractical. That pot rack needs to be up a little higher. And then the other thing that I noticed, like I am very much into minimalism, and like every inch of this house is just covered in stuff.
There's a lot of detail, a lot of life layer added.
Vases with big bouquets in them, and
Yeah.
just junk. So I was like, clean all this stuff out.
Wow. What a take.
Sorry, I don't know if that's
No, that's
thing,
fine.
but
It's just I never viewed the Banks's house as being too much junk and crowded.
junk.
And
when Frank was like, we need to move all this stuff out, I was like, yeah, good, and keep it out.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's start with the opening. We open up with George, and we have a monologue. It seems like, well, Steve is our narrator, but we never see him look at the camera again. It's just a voiceover throughout.
Right.
How are you feeling about this? Are you accepting of what we're being presented?
Yeah, so a lot of stuff from the movie, I remembered pretty much all of the main beats, release and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I had forgotten about this intro. And if we can even take one half step back even further, when this score comes in, it is the most bombastic. You would think you were watching a Christmas movie.
Yes.
Like a symphony. They went all out for this score. It's outrageous.
Yeah. But in my opinion, the best way.
I mean, it's very, very well made. And Alan Silvestri is like, that dude's a legend for sure. But it really struck me, not to be the person who's like, oh, they don't make things like this anymore. But I was like, this is a mid-tier, not even quite rom-com, just weird comedy. And they're going to town like, it's a full-on symphony for the score. It was impressive. It really, grabbed me.
Yeah. But you accepted the monologue.
You know what? I'm not a big anti-narrator person.
Mm-hmm.
Narration is looked down upon, and it's like, oh, you should just be able to write your script so that the audience will be able to understand. Yeah, you know what? maybe they did, and maybe they just wanted a narrator. If that's what you want, then go for it. Or if that's what pulls the movie together, who cares, man? Looking into the camera was kind of weird, and that it never comes back. Like if the movie then ended and he was like, well, Gain, so that's my story of how I became the father of the bride.
Right.
Also, the second movie starts with him looking at the camera again and saying, father of the bride. I was like, all right, we know what sequel we're in, Steve Martin.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fine. I think it's fine.
You accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen the 1950s film?
Okay. I have not seen the 1950s film, and I didn't even know that this was a remake until like this week.
No
I had
way.
no idea. Yeah, no idea that this was a remake. And that it freaked me out because going back 41 years, I was a kid who grew up with this father of the bride and never knew that there was another one. So I was like, what would be the equivalent? 25 years. Well, let's just say 26 years brings us to 25 years brings us to 2000. Another 25 years brings us to 1975. And then a year before that would be 1974. That's The Godfather, right?
Yes, but where are you going with this?
So that would be The Godfather Part 2. Where I'm going with it is just how we talk about how time is so weird and like the passage of time and people aging. So it's like, yeah, if someone remade a all-time classic movie from 1974 today, someone who was born a few years ago would just never know. It's possible that they would just never know it was a remake. They would just accept this as the version.
Yeah. I mean, originally it was a book in 1949. Then it was made into a film in 1950 starring Spencer Tracy and Elizabeth Taylor, which when I was on my Elizabeth Taylor kick last year, I
Right.
learned about this movie and that then Father of the Bride was a remake of that, of obviously the 1950s one, but I haven't watched it yet. It is on my list to watch. And so then we get Father of the Bride 91, Father of the Bride Part 2 in 95, and then we get Father of the Bride that came out in like 3 years ago on Netflix.
Yeah, like Andy Garcia.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one.
I like Andy Garcia fine, but I wasn't like, ooh, another Father's Mad?
Right. And also, this is our generation's Father of the Bride. So
Yeah.
I'm just like not that interested. But what I did find interesting is Disney acquires the rights to make this remake. And Steve Martin is signed on. Steve Martin has been making a lot of silly films before this. And he reaches his 40s and he's like, no one's going to take me seriously. I need to do like the family man style of movies. So he does Parenthood. Then he's like, I'm going to do Father of the Bride. He sees the screenplay. It sucks. And so he brings on Charles Shire and Nancy Meyers to make it better. He was a big fan of theirs from seeing Baby Boom. And so that's how all this came to be. Yeah. And not to go too much in behind the scenes of it all, Myers worked with Diane Keaton on Baby Boom.
Right.
And so I've never seen Baby Boom. Have you?
No.
Now I want to see it because I love Diane Keaton. And they had to beg for her to be in this movie because Disney, she was in one of Keaton starred in The Good Mother, which I've never heard of, which was a Disney and Touchstone picture, and it flopped so badly that they were like, Myers Shire, you cannot have Diane Keaton in Father of the Bride. We will not allow it. And so they had to beg, and thank goodness they did, and that's how we got our Nina.
The Good Mother, directed by Leonard Nimoy, Star Trek's Spock. Wow.
Yeah. Can you, like, that whole idea, too, of, like, this movie did so poorly, it's got to be Diane Keaton's fault.
Right.
It's all of her fault.
I like Diane Keaton.
I love Diane
I like
Keaton.
her. I like her in this. Her and Nancy Meyers look suspiciously similar. Pull up a side by side of them. I'm just saying.
You say that like it's a conspiracy theory and I should be concerned.
For two people who have worked together 4 or 5 times, it's kind of weird that they're identical.
I don't mind it.
But maybe Nancy Meyers just likes writing for Keaton because she's like, this is me. It's easy to write for her.
Well, sure.
It's
yeah.
like looking in a mirror.
Yeah. But going back to George.
Please.
Okay. Yes. Let's talk about George Banks, Steve Martin's portrayal. How did you take George?
I hate this guy so much. I hate George Banks, or as Frank would say, George Bong.
What? Wow.
He's okay. I am a parent. I have 2 children. And something that I say that this movie really drove home for me is having kids forces you to become lame. Never in your life prior to that are you like, go to bed, eat your food, don't jump off that thing. You have to. It becomes your responsibility. And even like me, I thought that I was going to be the cool parent. Out of me and Jean Marie, I was like, oh, I'm going to be the cool guy. I'm going to be the fun dad, whatever. Water balloon fights and chocolate banana pudding pops. You know what I mean?
Sure. Your idea of fun. Okay.
Yeah. And then the opposite happened. She'll take him to the store and come back with Fruit Loops. And I'm like, whoa, chill it with the sugary cereal here. And, they should be eating Cheerios. I'm the one who's like, hey, it's bedtime. I became closer to like George Banks. And I understand him. Like, I understand it's hard to move out of that mode. When Annie and Brian leave, and he feels the need to be like, hey, be sure to fasten your condoms. And he meant to say fasten your seatbelts. Can you imagine if you left your parents' house and they said, be sure to put your seatbelt on? Isn't that so?
Yeah,
it's very weird.
It's weird, but in that moment, like he just learned his daughter is engaged and he's meeting the fiance. They've only been together for a short amount of time. She just got back from Italy. Like his life has been so simple and routine for so long.
Yeah, yes, but his version of care and love is like protection and making everything is like buttoned up and lined up.
Yeah.
And that drives me nuts because Annie is a full-on adult. She's 22. She's getting married at 22. That's one of the craziest things about this movie.
A lot of people feel that way. 22, too young to get married.
Well, I got married when I was 20.
Right. So that's...
Jean was 21. But I don't recommend it. It didn't work out for a lot of people I know who got married young. We've made it last for 16 years. But nowadays, if I knew like a 20-year-old and they were like, I'm going to get married, I'd be like, you should not do that. I don't think. But George can only relate to her one way. And he keeps literally seeing her as a child. And that carries through into the second movie too, where he's like, oh, I just thought they were playing house and now here they got pregnant. And it's like, George, and I don't mean to be crass. It's just reality. It's like, you really convince yourself that your kid wasn't having sex with their spouse? Like, what are we doing? Come on. I don't love George. I don't love George. All right. I had an epiphany as I was watching the second one. Watching the second one really helped me understand both. The second one is so much more ridiculous and silly. And I think it's kind of an unnecessary sequel and really it's not good, I would say. It's not good. But as I was watching, I was like, oh, George Banks is Larry David if he wasn't insane. So every scenario going to meet Frank, just picture Larry David in that chair. That's exactly how he would act. But Larry David would ruin everything. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Having to park the car, so he misses everything. The hot dogs, looking for the checkbook in their house. So that helped me like the movie a little bit more because I was like, well, I like it when Larry David does it. So I feel like I'm hitting you with a lot of unpopular thoughts right now.
That's okay.
So
I like to
How do
hear.
you feel about George?
Well, I'll tell you what I struggled with upon this
Sure.
watch is this a good movie or am I just watching with very, very, very nostalgic eyes?
Yeah. The and/or I think is important. I would not know how to answer that because as I was watching, I was like, what type of movie is this?
Yeah, it's kind of in its own genre, isn't it? I mean, we could say it's a wedding movie, but it's really it's a father-daughter relationship movie.
Right. It's definitely a comedy, but
They're
it's not.
silly things.
Yeah. So I guess you would say it's a dramedy, but the drama is so low.
Right.
The drama is so low stakes that it's just putting on a wedding. And they pull out funny ideas and they fill out their runtime. But it's for me, like as I'm watching it, I'm just like, I'm not like invested in if they get the swans or not. Like I'm not invested in how much the cake will cost. Part of that is also because one of the other reasons why I really dislike George, not the movie, I should say, just George. This dude owns a flippin' sneaker company. He owns a sneaker company in like LA. It's not like he's got a little one room factory in the backwoods of some, nowhere state in America. He is employing people in LA. That means he is making money to employ those people and to produce those shoes. I don't care. When we meet him, he's driving around this like antique sports car. And I'm supposed to feel bad for this guy for having to pay for a $1,200 cake?
Right.
Give me a break.
Well, I think it's also that like how dads can be cheap. And I say that
Yes.
with I'm going to spend my money on things that I feel are worth to be spending on versus what you might want to spend it on.
Yes. And Jean Marie watched it with me a little bit and she was like, they didn't save any money for their wedding? Like just as she was growing up, like they never thought to put aside any money?
The thing is I think they have the money. It's just George is like, I'm not spending that much money because when the future in-laws say like, who are loaded having that house in Bel Air,
Yeah.
they say like, oh, we'll chip in, and George is like, we don't need a handout. We can afford to pay for the wedding. So
right.
just because
so just shut up.
yeah, but like I don't know. You definitely. My dad has said comments about stuff like that. Like I'm not going to pay for that.
I mean, hey, look, like I said, I understand George, and that's part of why I dislike him.
It's like looking in a mirror.
I get it because, look, I'm the one. It's like, hey, look, kids, you got your birthday, you got Christmas. You don't need toys throughout the year. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not. What are we doing here? And then again, my wife, she comes home and there's 5 new dinosaurs, and it's like, what? You buying him toys? She's like, yeah, he wanted a toy. And I'm like, well, that's what Christmas is for. And then I think, and I'm like, why wouldn't I buy my kid a dinosaur? But what I will say is, if we go on vacation or when it's time to do the stuff, you shut up. Me, like you as the dad. Yeah, I think it is the dad's job to like take the back seat and to like take one for the team. Like you are the ultimate, like you don't get to pick where you eat on vacation. You don't get to pick what you do. You let the kids decide. You let your wife decide. This is not for you. This is not about you. And for George, it's like, this is your only daughter's wedding. Why are you getting involved in any of this stuff? Just shut up and write the check. And if you can't, then stop being a proud jerk and take the money from the in-laws.
Yeah. I mean,
Anyways.
it's just he has a hard time processing his emotions, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And so he can go from like 0 to 100. And I think it's just a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in.
I mean, when they said $250 a person, I had a heart attack. That would be extremely expensive today.
That wedding it's like $200,000 to $300,000 today.
which is just
crazy.
that's absurd. Like that's
It's nuts.
genuinely, yeah, nuts.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I want to see a picture of what they were serving, quite frankly, for that cost.
The chipper chicken. How do you feel about Nina as the counterpart to George?
Yeah, I think that she's correct in just about everything.
Don't you feel
I
like
do
they
think-
balance each other nicely?
Yeah. I think that Nina and Annie do get a little carried away with some of the stuff where it's like, oh, look at this. This is like inlaid with pearls and
But Seth, let me
swans
tell you
and-
something. That is what happens. Maybe this didn't happen in your life or in any of the weddings you've been involved in. But speaking from experience, not my own wedding, but other weddings, the details, you get sucked up in them and you're like, why are
Yeah.
we paying for this? This is
Right.
insane. This is
Right.
insane. But in the
Yeah.
moment, when you're in that atmosphere, you're like, well, I'm in it. I want it. It's a one-time deal, hopefully.
Also, Annie is like almost an architect.
Yes.
And the dude is wealthy apart from his parents. So they should be chipping things in too.
Right, but going by tradition of
Right. And
the bride's
you know
parents pay
me,
for the wedding.
I hate any tradition. I'm allergic to it. So a movie that like the whole framework is based on him conforming to the tradition, I'm just like, just don't do any of this. But then there's no movie.
Well, right. And then it's also the balance of I'm having trouble accepting this, but I also want to make my daughter happy and my wife happy. And
Yeah.
it's like balancing all of the emotions. And also the other big, big part of this is the father-daughter relationship, which put aside the way George reacts to things, I feel the heart of this is Annie and George.
Yes. Yep.
And I feel that Kimberly and Steve had amazing chemistry on screen. I thought she did an amazing job. This is her first acting role at 19 years old.
That's crazy.
But I thought she was great. And I feel that it's genuine. I loved Annie. I love her.
Oh yeah. Annie's great. She's funny. She's excited.
She's sweet.
You know? Yeah.
You know, I was listening to a podcast on this movie, and then I was reading just on Reddit and different reviews, and people are talking
You're
about how
always on that Reddit.
I really do love Reddit. I love the threads over there.
What is with the love
The
in
light?
Reddit?
Wait, what?
No, I said, what is with the love in Reddit? Michelle's a Reddit head.
I'm a Reddit head. There's so much good stuff on there. Also, the light is shining on different parts of my face from the window, and it's distracting me.
It's all right.
Okay. But people were saying that Annie's a bad daughter.
Why?
Well, for her wanting this extravagant wedding and getting married so young and also just not being in touch with reality, and also like the whole, which we'll get to, I want to talk about the wedding separately, but how that's all handled and she doesn't say goodbye to George and has to call him from the airport. But I don't think Annie
we can wait to talk about that till the end, but
I don't think Annie is a bad daughter.
I don't think Annie's a bad daughter. I think that she's getting married and that her dad, once again, has access to a ton of money. So who cares? I don't want to say it works because I think that the movie works as it is, right? But you make George not the owner of his own company. You make him some kind of working stiff who worked and saved really hard to afford the house. And he does all the upkeep himself and you know what I mean? And then you put the financial strain on. Now we've got a movie. Now we've got conflict. Not just a guy who's like able to write the check and just plain doesn't want to. You know?
But I think that's a different movie. That's like adding more real life stress to this. This is like a really, call it what you will, this is a safe movie. You know going into it that no one is really going to get hurt. The tension will not even be that tense. The stakes are pretty low. It's just heartwarming. And that's it.
And in the second one, they change all of that by upping everything. You know, they sell the house, and they're both having babies at the same time, and George is going through this crazy midlife crisis. I'll stop mentioning the second one,
You could talk about the second one.
but it's just funny how they kind of did some like course correcting. I really feel that this Father of the Bride is kind of peculiar in its like structure, its characters, the way it tells the story, where Father of the Bride Part 2 feels more like a 90s Hollywood comedy movie.
Now it's difficult, right? Is how much did they follow from the 1950s film?
Right. And we would need to watch it in order to know that.
Yeah.
But like you said, I'm just not that interested. Like, I'm not like, oh, I gotta see.
I'm interested for Elizabeth Taylor, but
Sure. Spencer Tracy. I'm sure it's a great movie.
yeah,
But I'm not like,
well.
oh, I gotta crack
Sure.
like you said with the new one too. I'm sure whatever they changed from all three of them, I'm sure it's fine.
Right. I want to give a shout out to Kieran Culkin.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. He's so good in this. Maddie.
He's doing real good.
Yeah, he has a couple of funny moments. I love the line where he says, "Don't worry, Dad, no permanent damage has been done."
Yes.
That's
yes.
pretty great. Frank, this is another character I struggled with.
Oh, okay.
Here's why. Growing up, I loved Frank. I love Martin Short,
Yes.
right? And I love Howard Weinstein, BD Wong. Shout out to
Yes.
BD Wong. So funny.
Yes.
But then I'm like, is this character in 2025 cringy? Is this character, you know, you have to like, okay, let me put on my critical eyes now. I can't just stay in the little bubble I've created for myself because now we're covering it on the podcast. So I have to look at it differently. And I say that because I come with that with a little bit of like, oh man. And that's okay because we're here to have the conversation about it. How did you feel about Frank and watching it when you were younger versus today?
Sure. So before I get into I guess it's part of how I feel about them, but I will say Martin Short as Frank Egelhofer.
Frank.
And Frank, sorry. I am like George. And BD Wong as Howard Weinstein also have really great chemistry together. They're both really funny. I went into this fully expecting to be like, oh, this was pretty bad. But I don't think the movie ever makes fun of Frank and Howard Weinstein for being gay.
No.
And so, what's wrong with it? Like, Frank isn't a weird guy because he's like a flamboyant gay man. Frank is a weird guy because he's Frank.
Right. I think it's more so we're doing the accents and the whole, oh, I can't understand you. But to me, I'm like, everyone understands Frank but George.
And that's what the joke is.
That's what the joke is. Also, Frank was based on real life wedding planner, real life wedding planner Kevin Lee. And Kevin Lee got a kick out of Martin Short's impersonation of him. So,
I was like, what accent is Frank doing?
A bunch of European meld of accents.
It's like what's the Holland?
You can't pinpoint it. There
he's right because it's kind of
made up.
It's
right?
very loosey goosey. Right. It feels like Martin Short must have just worked on every single sentence and like pulling out consonants out of words and just letting them exist it's like a balloon. But no, genuinely, I went in thinking this is going to be pretty rough. I didn't think it was. You can send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let me know if I'm wrong. And then BD Wong playing a Jewish guy, basically.
In the second movie.
I loved it. I thought it was so funny.
He says Mazel Tov when he finds out Annie and George are pregnant. Spoiler. I mean, when he finds out George and Nina are pregnant. That is so funny because he gives his name as Weinstein in the first film. We don't touch upon it. And then the second one says Mazel Tov. I love it.
It's fun.
It's funny.
Yeah, I mean,
it's funny.
We've talked before about accents and I think it all comes down to one, is it a funny performance or not? Right? We just did Tropic Thunder.
Right.
And I was so stuck on this Robert Downey Jr. character.
Yeah.
And what I found was that pretty much everyone is like, this is okay because it's funny. If it wasn't funny, then yeah, it would be offensive, but it's not.
Right.
And that's kind of how I feel about Frank and Howard. Like, again, great chemistry, really funny, two characters. Like, I feel like they could have done a very bland, simple, stereotypical gay men wedding coordinate, whatever, right? And there's shades of that. But again, like, they're like, all right, BD Wan, you're gonna be a Jewish guy. And he's like, sure. And then he takes that idea and just I thought he like killed it.
So funny.
And then Frank, I think that people remember Frank about this movie more than anything else.
Yeah. And also what I enjoy watching is seeing Steve and Martin work together because you know how good of friends they are.
Right. Yeah. They had already done
The Three Amigos.
Looking back on their career, as they continue to work together, it is funny to see them together.
Out of the two of us, who do you think is Marty? Who is Steve? And should I not even compare us to these two comedic geniuses? But I was thinking about that. I'm like, who would be the Steve Martin and who's the Martin Short out of Seth and I?
I don't know. I don't know which one of us. I don't think that we do either of them because Steve Martin is just so dry.
Yes.
And Martin Short is so bombastic.
I know. And I think there are times when we are both, that we could be both sides of that. When I watched the Steve Martin documentary and I saw Marty and Steve writing together and their process, it reminded me of us. And then I've been thinking about like, okay, who is who? I'm like, I don't know. Part of me was like, I think Seth is the Steve Martin. But then I was like, then there are times when he's definitely the Marty Short and I am more the Steve Martin.
Well, I mean, I've been very, very vocal about my love and inspiration by Martin Short. Just everything from Ed Grimley. As a kid watching the Ed Grimley show, I was just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. So yeah. And perhaps I'm bringing my Martin Short rose-colored glasses into the role of Frank.
Well, I am too then.
Yeah, but anyway, we just talked about Frank for like 20 minutes. I think it's great. I think it's one of the best parts of the movie. I think that they kill it. And it's funny.
There's a lot of silly scenes in this movie.
Yes.
Like over the top ridiculous. You have George snooping at the in-laws and he falls into the pool.
Hey, who doesn't love when your toilet is just connected to your work office? So when you have to go take a dump in the middle of the day, you then get to sit there at your desk.
Sure.
That's where my mind went during this scene.
Yeah. We have the hot dog buns. 8 hot dog bun, 8 hot dogs, 12 buns. Like you said in the top of the show, I always think about this scene when we are having a barbecue and we have to go purchase the barbecue meats. It snows.
Which amounts to nothing.
It amounts to nothing, but you know what? I'm crying when it happens. Snow in any movie, TV show, to me is so magical. You're giving me such a disapproving look right now.
No, just a shocked look.
It's magic to me. And so for George and Annie to be outside the night before her wedding and it starts to snow.
That part. Yes, that part, yeah.
It just, I love it so much. The parking situation at the wedding.
Okay.
Let's get to the wedding. Let's segue this in. Let's drive on into the wedding. Give it to me, Seth. How are we feeling about this wedding?
Well, I mean, hideous dress, hideous cake. Oh, yeah. I can't wait for the end of this month when we're going to compare all the dresses.
Oh, I better start taking notes. Okay.
Yeah. It's fine. The swans, it's too much. It's over the top. Like, literally just rent a banquet hall. It probably would have saved money and you wouldn't have 200 people in your house. George being at the front. So I've worked, I can't even tell you how many weddings I've worked, probably upwards of 20, from coordinating to playing music at them to catering the weddings to every aspect of it, set up and tear down, driving people to airports, right? George being at the front of the line when they're supposed to march down, that was like very, very realistic. That stuff happens. I feel like we didn't get to see enough. And again, I find this part to be very, very frustrating. George, it's a comedy of errors, and George just can't get to his daughter. From what we've seen about George Banks from the entire movie, you're going to tell me he's not just going to raise his arms up and say, okay, everybody, move. Let me, like he suddenly becomes a nice, reserved guy because there's guests there. I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a second.
Yeah. I struggled with this part of the movie. George, he changes his tone once he ends up in jail and Nina has to bail him out.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
He is now a different person. He's going to abide to everything. He'll just say, yes, what you need. Okay, fine. What I don't understand about this is George is working so closely with Franck with the wedding planning. How does he not see Annie during the wedding? Are there no wedding photos being taken? How is there no father-daughter dance?
Yeah. No, but what I will say, your wedding day, if you're doing a traditional, wedding ceremony, reception, all the dances, all the speeches, all the whatevers, it goes by so fast.
Yes.
And it is really difficult to greet all of your guests. Let's say 150 people come to your wedding and you spend a minute with each one. It's 150 minutes. That's 2.5 hours just greeting your guests for a minute. But then again, we wouldn't have the movie. I don't think that there would be this big of an oversight. Like you said, like no father-daughter dance. During the photos, you would normally take pictures with both sets of parents, all that stuff. But a lot of times, bride and grooms don't eat.
Right.
We would
Yeah.
always make a special plate.
Yep.
I would get ahead of time what they wanted to eat. We would have it made, brought to them, and I would force them to sit down and eat it.
Yeah.
And guess what? When they sit down to eat, that's when everybody who didn't get a chance to talk to them thinks, I'm just going to sneak over here. Oh, I know you guys are, I'm just going to real quick. But then you do that 20 times, bride and groom don't eat.
Right.
So
Right.
anyway,
Did you when you worked weddings, did you show up as your cheery self as you are now?
I was like the wedding police.
Mm.
I would tell every couple that we worked with ahead of time, you need to tell whoever the annoying aunt is in your family, whoever the nagging uncle is, you need to warn them ahead of time that I work for you and not them. And if they come into my kitchen telling me that there's no Parmesan on the table, I'm going to lose it and they're going to be thrown out of my kitchen because I don't know them. They're not paying me and I don't want to know them. And they're not going to screw up this day for me and you because they can't mind their own business and attend a function without making themselves the center of attention. Can you tell I've had this conversation and experience many times?
Sorry I brought it up.
So yeah, no, I mean, you make a plan. It's an extremely expensive day with a lot of planning and coordination, and their hearts are in every decision. And so, yeah, somebody has to be the jerk with the clipboard,
Well, right. Like that's Franck, you would think.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
Howard coordinating, be like, okay, this picture, this dance. Even the parking situation, which is comedic, but it's so ridiculous to have these small children driving the cars.
And this is why, like I said, I kind of struggle with like, what is this? What genre of movie is this? Is this the Mighty Ducks?
It's so
What
silly.
we're having Steve Martin jump into a pool? Like
Right.
it really, yeah. It goes between these two lines, and people who really love this movie are probably upset that I'm bringing this up because it's like, oh, it works well, but it's really stupid having these two children drive cars, especially when they're all like blocked in there like that. Chauncey Leopardi, who we love from Freaks and Geeks and The Sandlot,
Yeah.
he's here. He's like, don't worry, Mr. Banks, I didn't need anything. That was great.
Yes. One of my favorite comedic bits is the suit. George's
really?
suit, not the tux he puts on in the attic.
Oh, that it's blue?
That it's blue, because we lay this groundwork. A sales guy shows up to the factory early on. He's selling designer bag knockoffs
Yes.
to the people who work in the factory. And then later on, he hooks George up what George thinks is an Armani suit. And so throughout the whole, from the continue on of when Franck, brings him what he thinks is black thread, the suit is navy blue, babe. It's really funny, and everyone is saying like, "Hey, you in the navy suit!" Like,
Yeah,
that was very funny to me. That was very
Armani
funny.
doesn't make a navy blue suit. Oh, they also don't make polyester.
I love it. I loved that part. Another part I love that's not silly, but makes me cry. If Aunt wasn't sitting next to me, I probably would have been in a puddle, is the basketball scene with Annie and George. My girl is playing. I am sobbing.
I didn't cry at that part. I cry when we do the flashback of her throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
That was well done, I thought.
Yeah, there's also around that time is when George is talking about the nevers. Like, she'll never be in this house again. She'll never come home from college again. She'll never, like, coming to terms with that part of your life is over. Doesn't mean it's bad because new things aren't coming, but that also made me cry.
Right. I can have sympathy for George. He's blindsided by this big change coming so quickly, but parents, you got to let your kids grow up, and you got to let them grow up every step of the way. Cut the apron strings every day. You know what I mean? Like, you got to let them go. You got to every day. You can't hold on to them. The point is to let them go. The point is to raise them and send them out. So get over yourself.
All right.
I wanted to ask you about calling parents by their first name.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's funny, but I never did it.
I don't think it's funny. I think it's horrible and evil.
I mean, the way that my friends have used it has always been like the term of endearment.
Yeah.
So like Krista's always called her mom Trish.
Well, Trish was a character.
Sure. And then
named Trish,
Sure. And then Lys's mom, we always call her G, and that's her middle name, which is Gay, I think is her middle name. So we always call her G. Again, a term of endearment.
No, I'm talking about just straight up like how Annie is like, oh, George.
Yeah, right. It's like we're trying this out. It doesn't stick. I like when Maddie does it, though. It's funny.
No, calling your parents by their first name as a nickname and as a bit and like a funny whatever. I don't know. I don't know why. I like I said, I usually hate tradition.
I know. I was just going to bring that up to you.
There's just something about your parents are your parents. They're mom and dad.
Yeah.
You don't think so?
I don't know. Like, again, if it's
like, all right, you're walking down the street. You see a 9-year-old look up at their mom and say, Susan?
Well, I
buy me that ice cream.
Yeah.
Are you slapping that kid?
I hope they say please. I I think it's funny when my nephew's 2, I got him calling Sam Samuel,
Oh yeah,
and that cracks me up.
you're the problem.
I'm the problem, but whatever. I'm the fun aunt. So,
Wow. Okay. All right.
I mean, he still calls her mom, but around me, he'll be like, Samuel. And then he'll yell Bobby too. So that cracks me up. I feel like from doing this episode with you, you are so George Banks. It is unbelievable.
We'll see when my kids get married. We will see.
No, I think just naturally you're George Banks.
Or Larry David.
More George, I think.
Okay.
More George. I hate to break it to you.
Funny? Not as funny. So not as funny.
No, George is I find George funny. Last but not least, before we get into facts and figures, Annie and Brian. We didn't even talk about Brian. He was fine.
Well, it's because he's just a wet noodle.
He could be anyone, right? He could be anyone.
He's fine.
It's not about him.
I think there's nothing wrong with, he's neither here nor there.
Sure. It's not about him. It's not about him. But, okay, so Annie and Brian, they head off to their honeymoon, and Nina and George are left in their empty house, just sitting. And I've been in that moment when, the chaos is over and you're just taking it all in. And George gets a phone call. Annie just, had to say goodbye to him. Okay, I like this. And I do like that we end on George and Nina dancing together because this is their house. This is their love. At the end of the day, they have each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like this. I just also think we could have had a father-daughter dance and this whole sequence would still have been effective.
If it were me, and I'm not as great of a writer, obviously, as Nancy Meyers, I don't do a phone call. I do them coming back. And they do the father-daughter dance alone. Everyone's gone. And she says, we switched our flight to tomorrow morning.
Wow, that's good.
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
Look, this movie is about the insecurity of a dude coming to terms with the fact that life isn't about him. So I know that I've rewritten this to make it more about him, but it just feels so unnecessary and cheap, this ending. Having them call. It's nice that they call. I just don't see not saying goodbye to my parents before I leave for my honeymoon.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree to that. But I do like seeing George and Nina dancing.
Oh, they could dance too. Maybe George and Annie are dancing, and then Nina comes and says, "May I cut in?" Or
that's sweet.
Husband guy says, "Can I cut in?" And then the two couples dance at the
Brian.
end.
His name is Brian.
I'm doubling the double your gum.
Double mint
pleasure.
Double your fun.
How did that song go? I've got the Mentos one in my head.
Oh,
do,
no.
Do, do, do.
Ooh, now you're singing, yeah, but
Mentos fresh.
Yeah. But the double mint gum.
Mentos fresh for life.
Mentos, the fresh mint.
The fresh. Yeah, double mint gum was like double mint gum, double your pleasure, double your fun. I don't think that was it at all. I'm done. I got no.
Okay. All right. Okay, so the budget for this movie was $20 million.
Okay.
It made over $129 million at the box office.
People loved it.
Has a 70% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's kind of low, I feel.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
A 3.4 on Letterboxd.
That's kind of high.
A 51 on Metacritic.
That's absurd. Come on.
It's not in the Criterion Collection nor the National Registry. Ebert gave it 3 stars.
Okay.
He said it was lighthearted and fun.
Correct.
Which it is. And the production days, about 83 days. That's
a long production for this, I feel.
You think?
You spent 3 months making Father of the Bride.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could have made it in 2 weekends.
Yeah, what would it have looked like? It wouldn't have that Myers aesthetic. It would have a Sethy aesthetic.
No.
All right, let's go into our happies and crappies.
It's time for happies and crappies. Happies and crappies. It's time for happies and crappies. Happies and crappies. It's time for happies and crappies.
Go ahead, Seth. You can go first.
Okay, so my happy is Kieran Culkin. I thought that he did really well, and I thought he was funny. He's precocious without being annoying. He hits that funny kid sweet spot, and yeah, it was nice. It was nice seeing him in this. And then my crappy is like just again like George is like just the epitome of like male fragility, and like this guy is touching my daughter's knee. I'm going to kill him.
I'm so curious. Like, please, someone please write in for two reasons. One, if you're a dad and you have a daughter. Two, if you just watched this movie for the first time, like 2025 eyes. Please, I need to hear from you. Also, wait, are you finished with your crappy?
Yeah, just George.
Just George, because you
buck
relate.
up, man.
Because
Come,
you
get
relate,
over yourself,
you relate
bro.
to him too much.
You're going to prison. You're going to prison, George. Knock it off, please. Anyway, what's your happy and crappy?
Well, before I do my happy and crappy, I wanted to talk about the blender scene, and I wanted to hear how you felt about that. So I apologize that this is out of order.
It's like the snow. It's nothing.
You
it
feel
amounts
nothing.
to nothing.
You feel nothing with that.
It's not that I feel nothing. It's that it amounts to nothing. It's a fake problem to introduce a little bit of drama, but nothing happens. Nothing changes. So much so that in the sequel, they redo this exact same thing, and it was very annoying.
It's formulaic. Yeah, it's pretty formulaic. I mean, I don't know. This to me is the pivot of when George accepts Brian and he realizes, oh, Annie is me, Brian is Nina.
But, George's arc sucks because
oh my God,
he has the epiphany of I need to make my daughter happy like 3 times, and each time he backtracks. And then he's like, oh, okay, this guy's actually a nice guy, and then backtracks over and over and over again. And again, it carries through into the second movie. Like when he finds the article that she's reading about like how to put on a cheap wedding, and he's like, from that moment on, I vowed to just shut up and pay. And the very next scene, he's like, this is too much money.
My happy was Nina holding written directions.
Please explain.
When she's driving to the in-laws
to
Bel Air, she has written directions, and I miss the 90s so much. Like this, I remember writing down directions. I remember my mom having written directions, and I just love it so much. My crappy, besides not having a father-daughter dance, show me this house at Christmas time. We see the passage of time. We see Thanksgiving happening. Where is Christmas?
January.
And it's January. In the beginning of the film, George talks about how much he loves his house. There's that voiceover. He talks about you should see it with Christmas lights. I need to see this house at Christmas time. Please and thank you.
That's a very interesting crappy, but I accept it. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What are our friends saying over on Twitter and Instagram and the internet about Father of the Bride?
Over on Instagram, Let's Talk Data says, still think of the grocery store scene every time I buy hot dog buns.
I like that came from Let's Talk Data,
Yes. RD Vargas 1 says, haven't seen it in decades, but I remember it being funny and sweet. And I think it is. I think it's both those things.
Is this a family member?
That's my cousin Ryan, yeah.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan, hello. Watch the movie. Ryan's got kids, so rewatching this movie now, and that's another thing, rewatching this now with kids, it's a very different experience for sure.
Yeah, but you didn't have a sentimental view to it. That's what's also blowing my mind. I was reading about people who watched this as a kid and then they watch it as a father, and it like they totally have softened and feel George's pain. You very much are like George, but not from the father point of view.
Look, you only have one time to do things. And when people look back on this season of their life, how will they remember you? And that's how you have to proceed with things. Are you the stick in the mud jerk? You know what I'm saying? You got to stop. That's my advice to George Banks. The Big Meanie on Instagram says, I watched it to cheer up from Melancholia.
Yeah, talk about another vibe shift, right?
I know.
This whole month is like a roller coaster.
We're like whipping back and forth. The Wedding Singer, Melancholia,
Yeah.
Father of the Bride, Mrs. Vargas Mama V. That's my mom.
Yes, it is.
Over on Instagram, she says, I'm obviously not a father. And she put father in quotes for some reason. So,
I love it.
what does that mean?
Well, maybe she feels like sometimes she's the role of both.
Maybe. I'm obviously not a father, but I have kids. This made me laugh so hard and cry as much.
Oh.
Martin Short and Steve Martin? Comic genius. More, please. And then Sam Vanderwielen says, only the best movie of all time. Frank for life.
That should be a t-shirt.
I was just going to say,
we have to make her that t-shirt.
We need to put that in the t-shirt list as we're preparing to launch our merch store here sometime this year.
Yeah.
Frank for life is actually kind of funny.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
And then Sam also sent us another message. She says, my submitted question, what business would George have if Father of the Bride was made today?
It's a great question.
They live near LA, some type of courier service, some type of delivery, food delivery, you know what I mean?
Really?
Where like like meal planning.
I can't believe you have such an answer. You didn't even think about this. How did you?
Well, a lot of manufacturing over the last few decades has gone overseas, and
Sure, yeah.
service
Yes.
industry.
Yes.
As Americans, continue to have an excess of funds, we spend it on services,
right?
Because our goods are made cheaply elsewhere. So I would think some type of service industry. Maybe he's the taxi king of LA.
There you go. Okay.
Call it side trips.
That's good, Seth. That's good.
And then over on Twitter, Melissa D'Agostino, at Melissa Dags, says, a quintessential Martin Short performance. Obviously, but I don't think we give BD Wan enough kudos for being his partner in zaniness. Also, you can't convince me that the in-laws weren't cast based on the Gorgs from Fraggle Rock. See evidence below. And then she posted 2 pictures. One of the in-laws.
Yeah.
And then one of the Gorgs from Fraggle Rock.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
We'll have to reach out to Nancy Meyers for confirmation on that one. The Power of John at John Clada says,
John.
Father of the Bride was always the first movie I think of when it came to Steve Martin. It's funny, sad, and Martin Short is ridiculously entertaining. Now I think of tons of other Steve Martin roles as being his best work, but this one still holds a special place. 8 out of 10.
Now, you had a problem with George, but did you have a problem with Steve?
No, Steve's great.
Okay.
And Betsy Gorm at Gorm_Betsy says, love Father of the Bride. I will sing the Party Pooper song with anyone who would like to sing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is from part 2.
Yes. Well, thanks, friends. Let's go over to our segment where we hear from people that we don't know. It's called Half Star, 3 Star, 5 Star. Half Star, 3 Star, 5 Star. These are reviews from letterboxd.com, which is an app and a website where you can log, rate, and review movies. We start with a half-star review, which is the lowest rating you can give a movie. We go all the way up to a 5-star review, which is the highest rating you can give a movie. Seth, as always, will read our half-star review with an accent. Which accent would you like to do?
Do you have a request?
Like the obvious one would be Frank, but
yes.
That's up to you.
All right. I meant to actually prepare this and do it, but
The thing about doing the accent is you can do whatever you want because
right.
Martin Short is not consistent with the accent.
Uh-oh, I bring the wrong color thread. I assumed you'd be wearing a black tuxedo. I don't think so, Bob. This tux is nothing blue. No doubt about it.
Welcome to the 90s, Bonks. I love that.
Welcome,
To the 90s,
welcome,
Mr. Bonks.
welcome to the 90s, George. Yeah. All right. This is gonna be a bad Frank, but
Okay.
I'll do it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Half star review. Steve Martin's performance in this is maybe the most amateur uncompa acting I have ever seen in a major motion picture. He is also not funny. Wish there was a movie where Diane Keaton has a gun and avenges her family.
That was pretty good, but also how ridiculous is the last part of this half-star review?
Wish there was a movie where Diane Keaton has a gun and avenges her family.
What the heck?
I mean, yeah, I guess just puts George out of his misery. And yeah.
Yeah. 3-star review. I love a father-daughter story, but this was pretty frustrating. The dad spent something like $150K on a wedding in 1991. And the mother and daughter keep saying he's a bad guy whenever he stresses about the finances. I will say this has some really cute moments and some funny moments. Martin Short as a wedding planner is a highlight.
All true.
5-star review says, this movie simply just makes you feel good all around. Family, love, and comedy are combined to make an amazing film. Makes me feel nostalgic, especially since it's a film that I watched since I was a kid and always seem to come back around. Nothing to criticize in this movie. The acting, humor, scenery, and not to mention the casting, all in caps, and soundtrack. Much deserved 5 stars.
Very nice.
As Anne says, it makes you feel all the emotions. With the help of the soundtrack. The score really...
Yeah, the score is great. Yeah.
Just makes
Definitely.
you feel all the things. All right, so we rate a movie as a schmovie movie or film. We rate it also 1 to 5 stars, give our final thoughts and recommendations. No one has won recently, so...
No. And I don't think I'm going to win right now, so you might as well go first so I can reveal my now horrible guess.
Okay, all right. Sure.
Here's my thought process. I was like, Michelle loved this movie as a kid. I still think that she's going to enjoy this movie, but I don't think that she's going to necessarily rate the movie very high. And that's not because of the movie, but I have started to notice a pattern with you where I feel like you will actually pull back a little bit on movies that you like. And so that's what I went with. I went with 3.5 stars. 3.5 star movie.
This is a 4.5 movie for me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, this is a special one. Obviously, as I've said it and you've heard me talk about it, it's nostalgic for me. It is heartwarming. It makes me happy. It also, though, and we didn't get into this, and I won't go on the sad train, but it also made me like angry that I didn't get to have my dad at my wedding. I'm not gonna lie. If someone who experienced losing their father as a teenager and not having that and having a close relationship with my dad, you know, it the older I get, the more I feel this. So,
Right.
but I do very much love this movie and the characters. And I am going to recommend this movie. If you haven't seen it, I want you to watch it because I'm just curious on your thoughts, that I can hear your critique and criticisms on it versus my rose-colored glasses one. Okay, for
Nice.
you, now I'm worried. I wrote down 3.5 movie.
When I give my rating, people are going to be like, oh, that's really low. But for me, 2.5 means I like it. Okay. So I just want to start there. I think if I was being generous, I would say 3.5. I think I'm going to say 3-star movie. And that's perfectly fine. I think that if I got more Martin Short, I would like it more. I think it's really well made. This is going to go into the category of like not for me.
Okay.
But still fun and enjoyable. I wasn't like, God, this movie sucks as I was watching it.
Yeah.
I was perplexed by the structure. I was curious about certain things, but it's a fun movie. It does make you feel things. I think it's a good example of just how not to be, basically. Like I don't think George. I think that Steve Martin is charming enough that we don't hate George, but none of George's actions are justified. He has to learn the lesson.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say it's a good example of how not to be. Hey, you kids getting married? Go sit down and watch Father of the Bride and walk away from it a better person.
You got more Marty in the second one.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy him in that?
Yeah. It's not a good movie. I would rate Father of the Bride Part 2 like 2 stars.
I know, but it's because I love these people. I do love that movie. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It's also ridiculous and not necessary. But as we say all the time, what is necessary?
There
right?
is no sense. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Does this movie pass the Seth Shell test? The Seth Shell test is our spin on the Bechdel test. This movie must contain something tangible that is impressive, whether choreography, production design, or practical effect, and it must have a runtime that is justified by its content. This is a yes for me on both accounts. I actually think the production design of the actual wedding is very tasteful. I think it's impressive. I think it was beautifully shown and done, and I'm fine with the runtime.
Yep, I agree on both parts too. The runtime is perfectly fine. There's a lot of attention to detail. Great set dressing.
Yep.
The car, as I already mentioned, it's not a plot point. Never, named. He never says my 62 blah 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 blah. It's just the car that he drives, and they just go the little extra mile with all of the details on the production design. So yeah, I think this is great.
All right. Well, that's my cue to exit. Seth, it's your cue to stand up. Take us home.
Hey, if we take you home when you listen to us in your car, maybe, or as you're drifting off to sleep, we would love it if you give us a rating and a review wherever you're listening. Remember, Spotify added comments. Bro, go through all of our episodes and just comment. Awesome. Cool. Loved this one. Haven't listened yet? Leave another comment when you do. Whatever, man. There's better ways to spend your Saturday morning from 5 a.m. to 6. Okay, you could clean your gutters. You could read to your children. But that's not what you're going to do. You're going to wake up at 5 a.m. this Saturday, and you're going to spend an hour leaving us comments on Spotify. And we're going to love you for it. You can also send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought about Father of the Bride, about male fragility, Eugene Levy, and his eyebrows.
I know, we got a special appearance by him. And then he's in the second film as a totally different person.
Yeah.
Character.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let us know. You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast, $5 a month, and you get the whole thing, baby. It's not $2.50 a head, it's $5. And you know what? I'm just going to say it. It's more value than going to a wedding, okay? Okay, so we have a kind of a weird month this month where we've got 5 weeks. And so we talked about how to handle it. In the past, we've done like 2 patron shows, or we take a week off, or we do like a totally different thing. This month, we decided to not do that. And we're just going to throw in a different movie. And that movie is My Big Fat Greek Wedding from 2002, directed by Joel Zwick. 95 minutes and currently streaming on Max. Michelle, what is your history with My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
It's a bunt. I love this movie. I quote it all of the time.
I have not seen this in a really long time, but when this movie came out, everyone was going to the theater. We were buying the DVD, and this was on repeat. So I'm curious if I know every line of this movie.
I'm also curious to hear how you'll feel about it.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I mean, in my memory, I like this movie. I think it's funny.
Yeah. Get some Windex.
That's right. All right. Well, hey, thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Seth. I'm sorry I put you through this. Hopefully it wasn't
Why?
too torture.
No,
Well,
no.
you know.
This was fun to revisit. Always fun to talk about Steve Martin, Martin Short, Diane Keaton, who we've done now several times.
Yeah.
And hey, thank you for listening. And remember, folks, I will go talk to Hank. Now, we don't want to lose him. He's a genius, and we need his mind. Till next time, have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Theme music by Jean Marie Vargas. Visit us at our website, moviefriendspodcast.com, and please subscribe and rate our show wherever you are listening. You can support Movie Friends at patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Thanks for listening.
Incoming. Message incoming. Message to Michelle's inner circle. Remember, kids, only Michelle's inner circle can decipher this week's message. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
A F S B N A B V V Y R A U Q E Y C A E M P Q N R D U Z Q P V Q P Y M T A.
Michelle is counting on you. Do not let her down.